Welcome to another episode of Conversations for Connection. I am your host, Mzi Chachela. This is our first ever live stream of our podcast. We started today not knowing what we were getting into, and we did face some technical difficulties, but here we are to continue with our conversation on friendship. Fundi Yuba and Fundiswa is not able to join us tonight. And, I've always loved friendships. I've thought even during this COVID-19 pandemic, one thing that was a blessing for other people was to have friends. And friendship is a universal human experience, and we're all wired for connection. And when we talk about friendship, we talk about those relationships that add value and support to each other. And we've had many songs like That's What Friends Are For, Lean On Me. There's been movies, there's been reality shows, there's been a lot of just content on friendship for ages, and it transcends all social constraints, be it social class, age, background, religion. So tonight we want to hear about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected us. As a humanity, we've suffered a great loss. We've lost so many lives, and we've lost our loved ones. All of us have been touched in one way or another and affected by COVID-19 pandemic. We want to hear your stories. Most importantly, thank you for waiting in audience. Please join us in. Please call in if you can, so that we can make this as fun as possible. Fundiswa Yuba is our guest tonight. She's an HR professional working in reinsurance who also manages a page for women on emotional healing. The handle for that at mercy_FYI. She grew up in Port Elizabeth and now lives in Cape Town with her husband and 2-year-old daughter. When it comes to friendships, Fundiswa is figuring herself and things out. So she's looking forward to learning through the Conversations for Connection discussion. And as I said, we regret to inform you that Fundiswa is not feeling well. He's not able to join us, even though he would like to be here. He sends his apologies for that, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Hi, Fundi. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of this discussion. I would like you to just take us into what friendship means to you and what it meant and what you've seen during this COVID-19 pandemic.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us and thank you for your patience. Z, you asked me a very weighty question. And I think for me, when it comes to friendships, I'm going to be very cheesy and stereotypical. There's a beautiful song that Whitney Houston and CeCe Winans did together a few years back, a long time ago, and it was called Count on Me, through thick and thin. And
Yes.
for me, that's what friendship is. It's about having someone that does life with you in the good, in the bad. They are there to celebrate with you. They are there to cry with you. It is almost someone who becomes an extension of your family. For me, that's the foundation I have for friendship. I have been someone who's been very good at categorizing people in my life. So I've got my friends, I've got acquaintances. So I'm friendly with all of these people, but there's a certain level of intimacy that differs based on the type of relationship that we have. And then I think through COVID, those relationships have then been challenged.
When you say challenge, I start to think about maybe difficult things. Do you have any specific things that you experienced during this COVID pandemic? And, I want to also just emphasize that there is no right or wrong, because our experiences are our experiences, and we are here to learn and not make anyone feel bad. So any specific things that you saw in your relationships?
As a family, we've just gone through things. Earlier this year, we lost my father-in-law, and that had an impact on our family. Last year, I was consulting, and that went well for most of the year. But towards the end of the year, the work dried up, which meant financially our resources were impacted. So there's a pandemic happening. And in and around all of that, we are going through certain things. And I think through that, then I had a lot of time to sort of reflect and weigh up which relationships do I have the energy to continue to sustain. And by energy, I mean, I think sometimes when you're going through a lot, depending on how you process and deal with those emotions as a person, you find that you might not have energy to deal with a lot of things because your mind is preoccupied
Mm-hmm.
by what you are going through, by what you're experiencing. And so you sort of filter where you can expend your energy in
Mm-hmm.
that time and in that season. So I would say that's where my challenges came in, just outside of dealing with the pandemic.
Talking about choosing and all that, there's been a lot about being intentional about relationships during this pandemic. Did you notice that you had to sit back and be truly intentional, or sometimes you just didn't have energy to even, be intentional about certain relationships?
I've got a lot of old good friends. And so I think sometimes those types of relationships make you lazy because you guys know each other. A lot of the people that I consider to be friends are people that I've known for years, some 20, some 25 years. So I think sometimes the pandemic actually forced me to check in more regularly than I ordinarily would have. Sometimes we talk maybe with certain friends on birthdays. If there's big things happening, we check in and we connect. But I think because of the pandemic, I found myself engaging more with those people that I really love and care about, and just wanting to find out, are they okay? How are they doing with their families? And also grieving together because we were losing people that we knew, people who are a part of our childhood.
This pandemic was so hard. All the things that we were used to, we've lost them. Do you think we'll be able to pick up and carry on? Or we are going to have difficult conversations about, like, Fundi, what happened? Why were you not there? And I was going through a hard time.
Yo, oh, yeah. See, I think as a people group, we've got a choice to make first and foremost in terms of how we are going to view COVID. And I'm going to say this, and I'm saying this fully aware that a lot of people have lost loved ones. A lot of people have lost financial resources. A lot of people have sunk into deep depression in this period. So I'm saying what I'm about to say with that in mind. I think COVID has forced us to learn what is important in our lives. It's forced us to remember. It has made us more human. And what do I mean
Mm.
by that? Sometimes I could be at work and my mom is calling me, and I'm like, I'll get back to her at the end of the day. Like, I'm busy. Where, whereas now, if there's calls, I'm more likely to pick up. In my friendship circle with my childhood friends, they know me. I'm the person you don't call when there's an emergency, because I'm not I'm not gonna pick up the call. But I've tried to be better. If I've missed the call, let me make sure that I call again. I think there is a greater awareness of human suffering that has come through the pandemic. When you hear that someone has lost a loved one, it hits you. You might not have had the loss, but it hits you because there's just been so much death around us that I think all of us collectively need to mourn. So I
Mm.
think there's been a lot of bad things that have come out of the pandemic, but I think we can also choose to look at the good that has come out of the pandemic, in that we know what is important. If we weren't clear on what we valued in our lives, I am
Mm.
sure by now, 18 months into it, you know what matters. If you were like me, busy trying to get through all the meetings that you can get through, but you realize, you know what? It's important that I speak to my mom. It's
Mm.
important that I make time for family. It's important that I make time for friends. It's important for me to be present in the things that I am doing, so
Mm.
that I'm enjoying having this conversation with Umzi, because we,
Mhm.
we, we are now so acutely aware of the fact that tomorrow is not promised to any of us.
Yeah. Oh man, I think you've put it so well. And again, every time I hear hearing people's experiences and hearing what we've, you know, what we've gone through and how to heal from what we've suffered. It's, to me, I'm always reminded about being intentional, being intentional to say, you know what, I'm going to call my mom. You make that intention. I'm going to call my friend and check on how they are doing, and some people have shared their views on friendship during this time, and I wanted to play some of the notes that I've received, and so we're gonna go and do that, and then continue with our conversation.
It has forced us, one, not to have passive relationships. Before, we were forced into relationships, whether socially or in the workplace, relationships that you would not ordinarily have. Or what I observed about this period is that it really sifted us. It really allowed us or forced us to analyze what is real and what is not real. And it freed our space as well, like you say, to self-reflect.
Wow. Talk about the sifting. That's another thing I've been hearing a lot. The sifting that has been kind of forced upon us during this pandemic.
So many people are going through so many things. And I think that's where the sifting comes in. Because people are facing so much, someone said that they're nervous sometimes to raise some of the things they're experiencing, because other people are also going through so much. So I think we also are sifting in who we can be vulnerable with.
Mm-hmm.
We are sifting in who we are calling our intimate and close friends. Maybe everyone was your friend before the pandemic. And now you realize, actually, I've got 5 people. These are my people. And these are the people that I'm going to be intentional in pursuing a relationship with. I think for me, that's where I see the sifting happening in terms of where are you going to put your focus? Because we all have 24 hours in a day. There's work pressures. There's everything that is happening around us. Where can I be present fully, and where is it going to add the most value?
Oh, I love that. And one of the conversations that we've had as well is sometimes during this pandemic, there was a sense of abandonment. Would that be part of that sifting, maybe the sifting that happens without us being aware? Or it was just maybe I always say maybe the pandemic was just too tough on all of us. Do you think there was element of abandonment in some relationships?
I think, Mzi, there has to be a certain level of grace in our relationships, and understanding that our relationships sort of, like the ocean and the waves, they wax and they wane. They have ups and they have downs. Today I'm close to Mzi, and then maybe we lose touch and I meet someone from primary school who wasn't a good friend of mine, but now in our 30s we make good friends. And so our relationships are always shifting. And I think
Okay.
if we look at them with that perspective, it becomes less blaming, less, Mzi, my mom just passed away. You weren't there for me. I've just lost my job. Where have you been? It just could be in this particular season of life. Maybe Mzi is not the person I am journeying with. So I'm a person of faith. So my question would then be, God, show me the people that you've put around me in this season of life. And so that when our relationship shifts, Mzi, I'm a big believer in parting with people on good terms. I was just talking to someone who knows myself and your wife, and she was just commenting on how funny it is that I used to do life with Nwabisa in Joburg, and now I'm sitting here having a conversation with you. The world is getting increasingly smaller. So we've got to be mindful on how we part ways with people. So if I'm going to sit in my pain and grief and think that everyone has abandoned me, what does that mean for those relationships in 3, 4 years' time when my pain is not so heavy on my mind?
Mm.
I've got to leave a bridge so that when the season has shifted, we can make our way back to each other. So I think we've got to be mindful of the abandonment versus maybe someone is also going through something. Maybe let me reach out and message. I'm going through something, but let me message and ask, listen, Z, I've missed you. Where have you been, bruh?
It's not always about me.
You know, and Z
Yeah,
might be going through the most, and I didn't know. And he's been wondering where I've been.
I love it. Again, it brings that element of mutual giving in relationships that, I might be feeling abandoned, but maybe my friend is feeling the same thing. How about we both reach out? If you reach out and we all do that, maybe we will maintain our friendships. One of the things I was talking to Robert Lawless recently about friendships as well. I was saying we should be viewing friendship as an experience and not as a transaction. That sometimes Fundi might be stronger at a given season, a given time, and I'll be there. And sometimes she might not be so strong and not be there for me. And it's that experience and learning through that experience. So, giving and being thoughtful as well. Do you have any stories where you've seen your friendships uplifting you during this pandemic?
Yeah. So I am in a group with my childhood friends. These are the people who know all the records, everything. They've got the archives. And so it's quite easy to be in that space where we're just talking nonsense, if that makes sense. There's no transaction in the relationship. You're just talking because you're just talking, because you enjoy talking to each other. And I mean, even in that group, people have gone through different things, but I've loved seeing, I guess, that childhood banter of making fun of each other in the moment. If I'm going to complain about, I don't know, I might be having a tough time with my husband, and I'm like, oh my word. And then my friend's like, listen, that was me 2 weeks ago. You'll be fine. What else do you want us to talk about? And in that, we're
Yeah.
laughing, we're commiserating, and it's just a good space. And I think for me in this period of time, because I've also had some tough transitions in friendships, it's made me more gracious towards others and towards myself, because I think
I
so
love that.
often we are consumed, by what we're going through, and we don't take the time out to hear what's happening with someone else. And you begin to realize that people are carrying a lot, even if I'm seeing them smiling,
Mm-hmm.
behind that smile, behind that laugh, there's a heavy weight. And I think for a lot of us, maybe we were lied to, because we grew up wanting to get old, want to mature. I want to be an adult. And now we're here and we're realizing
Yeah.
that adulting is very real and it's very hard. And so if I'm struggling to adult,
It's tough.
I'm sure Mzi's also got his own things, but his things might not look like my
Oh,
things,
yeah.
but it doesn't mean they are not things for him.
Oh, what an exciting conversation we had with Fundiswa Yuba. I'll be bringing part 2 next week. Stay tuned. See you then.